Henry?
Testing.
Hello?
Hi, Grace. Can you hear us?
Yes?
Great.
Okay,
Hello?
great. Thank you.
Clyde, Valentine, and who's number 5? Grace, Chandler, Vicky. Oh, Smalls. Valentine's been here for like 6 or so months now. Oh. How long have you been here? Yeah. This time's going by real fast. Who's Marlo's one here? But so screwed. She's
Yeah.
good. It's her partner must be a musician. Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay, so I'm going to call the Cultural Planning and Equity Committee meeting to order at 4:31 p.m. on Thursday, March 20, where are we? April 29th. I'm just looking at the minutes. We have a quorum, so we will get started. So my understanding is that, well, let me first say, can we have someone who was at the meeting, the last meeting, I'm going to call for approval of the minutes. I was not there, so I can't verify that these minutes are accurate, but I'm hoping that the other board members, or the other committee members read them. And if I could get a motion to accept those minutes.
A motion to accept.
Okay, Clyde
March meeting.
Valentine, there's a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Glover seconds it. So they've been moved and seconded, so the minutes are approved. All right, so we now need to revisit the conversation. Oh, I just noticed that, Emmanuel, you gave me a script that I did not follow. Okay, well, there's no discussion, so we're, oh, we do have to vote. I'm sorry, did we just vote?
No.
Okay, okay, just approval of the minutes is a vote, is a motion and a second, that's it?
Right.
Okay, well, then we're done. All right, so now let's,
Sorry, no, you have a motion in a second. Now you.
so now can we vote on approval of the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, here we go.
There you go.
This meeting's gonna go down as the comedy meeting of the year. But in any event, all right, now we can move on. Okay, so my understanding is that we need to be discussing what I had concerns over, which was who was going to be eligible for this pilot. And so, is that your understanding?
Yes, that is my understanding. I figured what we would do is, just as a refresher, Nikki will run through the program, discuss it with some of the slides that she's created.
No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
Great, so,
Because we've done enough discussion on what the program is supposed to be. We need to really nail down who will be eligible for this program based on the pilot.
awesome. So then we'll go to the eligibility slide on here, just for viewing reference. Nope, one more. There we go. And I'm gonna hand it over to, well, we'll do it together, but I'll hand it over to Nikki to discuss sort of the eligibility criteria that have been set up currently, help answer some questions, because I think that there was some, like, is it gonna be COP or not COP?
No. The question was, if it's a pilot, we get to determine who is the pilot group. So it wasn't open to, my discussion with Martine was, this is not something that should be open to the entire whatever. This is a pilot. We want to test some things. So when you want to test something, you pick who you want to be the test groups. And we wanted them to be COP because we're worried about COP organizations that are teetering on the edge, even though they might have decent budgets.
Right. So
that's what it was.
so if that's the case, and we wanted to hone in on some organizations,
Yes.
right?
And I had made a suggestion of what organizations they ought to be.
So
That's what we should be talking about.
what I'm not, this is the first time that I've come into that train of thought of a pilot program and specifically choosing organizations without having, parameters of eligibility criteria and allowing people to sort of opt in and have the opportunity to apply or to ask to be a part of the program. So that's where I've now crossed into an area that I have not been in before.
Okay.
So I really don't have a whole lot of reference for that particular. Do you have examples of other pilots you've run where you've done that before?
Well, a pilot by its very definition is something that you're testing.
Right.
And if you're testing it, I would think, want to have a control group so that you would know you've got all the components of everything you want to test.
Right.
Which means that we'll want to test a larger organization in that group, a middle organization in that group, and a smaller organization in that group. And therefore, I'm saying we would pick the groups that we know are having issues. And there's some that we definitely know that's the case.
Sure.
and put them as the test group.
Did you have something?
Uh, Commissioner Valentin, you have your hand up?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Just some points of clarification for myself, because the first meeting I actually stepped into was the March 27th meeting. And I've been aware that this particular program and pilot had been developed, so I know that there have been ongoing discussions, to your point. Um, and so what I remember from that meeting and what was pending was this conversation about eligibility criteria and clarifying whether or not COPs would be included. I did not get the impression from the March meeting, Chair, that what you're presenting now was going to be the consideration, that there was a pre-selected or specific set of organizations that are specifically COP that wouldn't even effectively apply to the program. I was not under that impression. So I just want to be real specific based upon how I'm entering this conversation.
Okay, so that means that David did not introduce what I asked him to introduce.
So I am still stuck on the idea that we have the latitude to choose specific organizations to essentially go into a contract with. Because to me, that breaks down some of the other sort of procurement of artistic and cultural contracts that we've had before. And I know this is different than that as far as a capacity building type of
Right.
program, but to give money out without presenting the opportunity for various organizations to opt in or to ask to be a part of that particular program. And we can narrow those criteria as narrow as we'd like, right? We can say that they're organizations that provide a lot of programming or et cetera, that kind of programming, that they have budgets. We'll choose one organization that has a budget of this size to this size, another of this size, whatever. But I've never seen an instance where we have been able to just choose an organization.
You know
like
that's
that.
how LEAP worked, right?
I don't know that.
That's exactly what LEAP was.
Fair
LEAP
enough.
targeted-
So I'm saying this to say that if that's the case, I need to get some clarity from our city attorneys to make sure that that's what we're able to do.
Okay,
I'm not saying we can't. I've never come into it myself, and everything else that I've done when it comes to contracting with organizations, there's some kind of call with our preset criteria. And then as we accept them based off the scoring that Nikki has come up with and all of that, then we choose the organization that we best see fit for that. But everything that I've ever seen or done has had some kind of open call like that.
well, then we need to check with the city attorney.
Okay,
Because to
yeah.
me, it defeats the whole purpose of what a pilot is if you can't select who you would like this to work on, knowing that they're in a certain position as far as the COP organization is concerned.
Right.
And if we're just sort of opening it up to anybody who wants to apply, who fits this criterion, then we may not get the people that we actually know we want to
Right.
affect.
Well, and see, that's where it gets problematic from my end, is that, it's at one point it becomes where it's not our place to say, oh, it's going to be them. And that we want to set up an eligibility criteria that gives us a grouping, ideally, of those that we then can say, this organization is best fit for this. But to disallow other organizations to apply or to have the opportunity to be a part of the pilot program, I think that's where we get into a sticky situation where I'm going to need clarity from our attorneys.
Okay, I think we need to get that clarity.
Right, certainly.
Okay.
And Chair, if I may
Yes.
just add a little more context to the previous conversation around this. I think the COP optional, which is what I think is reflective of a revision or an update, I think behind that idea was the opportunity to identify organizations that are not necessarily COP eligible, but can be strategically catalyzed by this kind of pilot opportunity as well, in terms of some of the nonprofits that are out there that are yet to be eligible for COP. So I just wanted to say that too, in terms of like an access point for the right organizations. I still think it speaks to what you're saying about, the urgency of supporting some groups that are ready for something that's very specific. But I remember us going back and forth a little bit about that and deferring to this meeting and scheduling it. So just a little more for you.
Thank you.
So can I, since while we work on this request from the city attorney's office to try to get clarity around that, we have these eligibility criteria that Nikki has drafted. And we mentioned this in the last meeting. 2 of these specifically only allow for like 1 organization from COP. So I think for us, it would be helpful to go about what do we want sort of these eligibility criteria to look like for that small, medium, and you said large size organizations. So should we break that down real quickly to make sure, so we kind of are fully informed when we go to the attorneys for it?
Sure. If we are looking at COP, which, I'm sorry, Commissioner Curiel, did you have something to say? Were you listening in on the initial conversation? You're on mute.
I left my computer at home. I was listening in. I forgot to turn my video on. But I was last time we were talking. We also were talking about individual artists, and I didn't know if we were considering. I know right now we're talking about COP, but when I was thinking about this program, I was thinking about CAP, the artists who are on CAP who sometimes struggle to get
Yes.
people to require, so I didn't want to forget those artists.
No,
Since we're
we
already
weren't
engaged
forgetting
with
the
them.
individual artists, Tabitha.
Okay.
We're not.
Okay,
We were
good.
saying
Okay.
that, but the organizations we were looking at would be COP. And then
Okay.
one of those positions would be for an individual CAP artist.
Okay. Okay,
So
great.
we would
Thanks.
get
Sorry.
all of the categories that we're trying to affect in COP, and then that individual category would come out of the CAP program. So no,
All
they
right,
were
thank
not,
you.
it just seems to me like David did not present any of what I asked him to present. That's what it sounds like, because nobody seems to have any knowledge of that conversation. So I think that's where the
Maybe we just didn't
disconnect is
understand
coming.
it. Yeah.
So to that point, as far as like let's just, for the eligibility criteria, we're gonna, if we were to open this up, right, and say, hey, you need to be a COP organization.
Yeah, that was the main.
Minimum COP organization. You said you want to look at 3 different
Cap-
budget sizes.
Yeah,
What do those budget sizes look like to you?
whatever the budgets, and I don't know the tier names, but whatever the budget size that Caramia is in, so
Okay.
whatever that is, because I think they're probably the larger
They're the larger
of the
smaller.
Alana organizations.
Yeah.
They're probably one of the larger ones. And then the next one down would be the next category down, whatever that is.
Mhm.
And then the third category would be the smaller under, but that 150.
So we're looking at probably like the first 3 tiers.
The first 3 tiers.
Basically, okay,
I
great.
think that's what.
I'll double check to make
Okay.
sure that it's in that range,
Okay.
but I'm thinking it's either I think it's probably the first 3, maybe 4. I'll look at those. So,
Okay.
oh gosh, tiers 1 through 3, or maybe 4. Okay,
Maybe.
cool.
And then CAP.
And then CAP.
And then CAP.
And we're looking at organizations specifically?
No,
or-
we're looking at individual artists.
Individual artists,
Because
same
what we
cap.
wanted to be able to do in the technical assistance program is to affect both the individual artist, who is basically an entrepreneur,
Right.
and be able to help them, and then the organizational capacity of the organizations that are in COP.
Okay, cool. So, do you want to also have that the artist or organization provides artistic or cultural services that are centered around an Alana experience or identity?
Well, what the wording that I had given David was that Alana organizations to get priority in our, in terms of who we're using as the test model in COP. And I would say CAP is primarily Alana artists anyway.
It is
isn't it?
only, yes,
Yeah,
correct.
so-
So the rub for this one is that we can't make priority or decisions based off of identity itself. It's off the services they
The
provide.
services.
So that's the way we'll phrase that,
Okay.
which I believe Nikki's already done in the guidelines. Okay, great. So, And then I think everything else listed on here is our typical standard, right? If you're an organization, you need to be a 501c3. Good standing with the city of Dallas, live or work in the city of Dallas, which are all our criteria anyway.
For
for these
anyway,
groups.
that's
Yeah,
what I
okay,
said.
cool.
That's
So I'm
already
just sorry,
the
I'm just going through
criteria.
this as like a checklist. Demonstrate commitment to being great.
This will come into play much more after the pilot
Right,
than
right.
before. Because
Okay.
right now, if you're only dealing with COP, they have to have met all of that.
Yeah,
So they
so-
can be COP organizations.
So the only difference is the operating budget. We've
Right.
broadened that, which is great. Okay. And we're sending around services services that are centered around Alana culture experience. Okay. I think if that's the case, that is what the biggest sort of clarity that we needed
Okay.
for us to start running this through.
Okay. Commissioner Glover, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I guess I'm confused about something. A minute ago, you were saying that at the minimum, you would have to be in a COP, but in this eligibility criteria, it says COP participation is optional.
That we just said we're not going through that. We know now that we want to look at COP organizations. So
Okay.
this was something that was done before.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other observations from commissioners about what we just said?
So
Yes,
just another,
Clive,
thank you, Chair. Just another question on the actual funding pool, which we know that the total grant pool is 150,000 for this particular pilot. The max award per organization, that's the max. That's not, the minimum, depending on what the ask is.
Right.
So I don't think we're, necessarily putting that forth is 15,000, and it's 6 to 9 months through the fiscal year, this current fiscal year. That was one of my general questions about the introduction of this pilot and that window, that 6 to 9 month window. Are we still in that window in terms of launching this fiscal year?
We can get out of that, right?
Hello. So we don't have to be within our fiscal year of September 30th. We actually extended it. We said it was going to go to December 31st of 2025. So just for the actual physical year.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
And I know we're not, again, predetermining like groups where we just expanded the range of COP eligible applicants plus individual artists. So my other question for us is, because it's clear that you all have to go back to the city attorneys just to gain a bit more clarity on how we proceed, but the criteria itself and the point distribution, does that line up in our minds between 501c3 organizations of various scales and individual artists?
I don't understand the question.
There's a point system in the evaluation criteria, and that's a slide but that was also presented in March in narrative form. I believe it's page 5 of the presentation. This slide, yes, thank you. So that's a point system, and I was just thinking that if this pilot is going to include both 501c3 organizations and individual artists, right? Does this criteria line up so that we're comparing apples to apples, or do we need to, be a bit more nuanced here? Because it's a both and. That's what we're talking about, right? Individual artists and 501c3 organizations. Some as large as Caramia, maybe some as small as, I don't know. So I just wonder if there's like if public benefits and community impact is 25 points, and that's a significant amount out of 100. How am I thinking about that for an individual artist's purpose? If let's say they need $5,000 to get a website going so they could offer more of their workshops and programs because they're cap artists. then, is that can we say that then that's, public benefit and community impact? You know what I mean? In
Yeah,
terms of criteria?
Clyde, I think we need to talk, I didn't see this, so let's talk about this evaluation criteria in general. I mean, I'm just looking at this now.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
I don't quite understand it. Like, who came up with this? Did you come up with this?
Yes, well, I think it was based off of what the information I had received. It was based off of the information that I received previously, and we needed to have, I was instructed to do a kind of how we would do our panel reviews. And so that was how I crafted this language here.
Okay, my concern is that if this is a capacity building project,
Mhm.
organizational capacity and fiscal cannot be 10%. Because this is the primary focus of this program, is to build capacity. So we would be looking at their current capacity and fiscal management as being critical to whether we consider them someone who needs to be in this program. So it would have to be a much heavier weight on that than any of these others.
But Chair, if I may, if I may, um, the way I look at this point system and that particular piece of the criteria, let's say I'm an organization who's going to score low here because that's my weak point. And I'm applying to this pilot because this is the very thing that I want to strengthen. So therefore, it's a significant and intentional effort on my part as the executive director of a 501c3 organization to strengthen this soft part of my organization. Like that, I wouldn't want to be penalized for the very thing that I'm attempting to strengthen. I just hope that makes sense because I see it a
I guess
different
that's
way.
the opposite of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that if you're weighting these in terms of the points,
Uh-huh.
and you're figuring out whether or not a person should be in the program based on these points, and organizational capacity and fiscal management is only 10% of the weight, that's exactly what we're looking at for these organizations to build capacity. That's not enough weight on that entity, on that particular piece of what what they're doing to offset. You've got, I mean, I think it's significant and intentional effort is important. The other two things, I'm figuring 30 points for service priority to communities in Dallas. They already are in the program, so they are already doing that. We don't have to really weight that as heavily in this particular project because they're in COP. They can't be in COP if they aren't doing these things. So that's like a given. So we can weight this stuff much more heavily on the things that we know we would like to be looking at with them, which is their capacity, both financially and organizationally, administratively, and all that. Those are the things that we want to strengthen.
Did you want to do that
Oh,
first? And then I can.
yes, Commissioner Curiel.
Um, so maybe I'm on a lot of allergy medicine, so maybe I'm confusing this, but like when I look at this evaluation criteria and it says organizational capacity and fiscal management, and that's the very thing that we're hoping to help with, and it says 10 points. I go to teacher brain and I'm thinking, exactly what do you mean here? Like, if this were a rubric, are we saying you need the most help, you get 10 points? You don't need very much help, you get 10 points. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, how is this 10 points awarded, I guess, is what, and I do, if it's, because if it is that you have higher marks in the other areas, but you're struggling here, then maybe it should be weighted more than that. But I guess I'm a little confused on how those points are awarded, if they're going to be awarded for the folks who need the most, or for the folks who are doing well there. Does that make sense?
I don't know.
it's similar to the fact that we were looking at the weight of that particular criteria differently, Vicky, you know, in terms of like, is it going to prevent organizations from applying, or they're going to score low, or is it going to help them? And you know, then so that's an important consideration, because I think we're all in the same ballpark, you know, that we don't want to hurt organizations applying or attempting to strengthen specific parts of their organization, so that they're just around and continue to do the good work that they do. And you know, $15,000 in service fees for the right consultant could really move the needle, you know, if the organization is very clear. So I think the intentional effort piece and the significance is like an easy one for us to wrap our heads around, right? To your point about servicing communities, that's an easy one, and folks are already in there. So do we want to think differently about some of the, you know, these criteria buckets? I think public benefit and community impact could be a bigger number, you know, in terms of our consideration. And then again, I keep asking myself, how do I think about this when if I'm reviewing applications and I'm thinking about a 501c3 organization and an individual, because I know that the dynamic is a little bit different. It's similar, but it's just different. And I just want to be conscious of that, you know, early on in the context of the pilot. We also know we're going to learn from the pilot, so we don't have to split too many hairs on this either, you know, if we're going to get the ball rolling.
Well, and for my own clarity's sake, when I'm thinking about an applicant applying for this program, I'm choosing one of these eligible activities, right? What do I feel like I need the most? Strategic planning and board development, equipment, branding, whatever, right? And then when I'm looking at what I'm going to be scored on, let's say we go with these 4 categories of scores, points we can talk about. I'm saying how does my current operation sort of fit into significant and intentional effort? I think I'm doing real solid right here, right? And just like it was mentioned a second ago, sometimes if it's for a fiscal management or a specific organizational capacity, I'm already saying in this response, this is what I need the most, right? And so it would be up to those who are scoring, and then as a part of the panel decision for selecting an organization, whatever it is, say like, they didn't score well here, meaning to me that this is where they could use the most. That's where that sort of agency and latitude amongst the selection committee, if you will, get to come in, right? So this is pretty different than how we would like typically score
right,
and view like Tippity Top does the best, they get funding. There's a lot more nuance in this. So would it make more sense? What is it? Could you add need to the organizational capacity? Oh, potentially. I think Commissioner Nugent said, could you add need to organizational capacity and fiscal management?
what do you mean by that, Jim?
We are selecting organizations that need financial, organizational capacity and fiscal management. Should we just say need and weight the criteria more?
That's a thought. The only thing that I would say about that, putting that in, some organizations don't even know they need it. No, I'm very serious. I mean, I know for a fact that like my organizations that I am the liaison to, all of them need this, even though one of them doesn't know that they need it as much as they need it, because they have not really evaluated where those weaknesses are in their administrative structure. So I would only be afraid that some organization might go, well, we don't need that, but they really do. And when we are looking at them in a more nuanced way, we would see that they need it. But if they've already determined that they don't, they might be resistant. Yeah, Jim.
The organizations that are looking at these criteria and looking at $15,000 are going to heighten their case for need.
possibly.
or emphasize the need.
What are you thinking, Glenn?
I'm thinking, is this something, oh gosh, I don't know if this is this something that needs points, or is this really something where we just want to see a narrative? We've chosen, an applicant chooses an eligible activity and they respond. How will this that you're asking for improve your significant intentional effort, improve these different categories, right? And is it something that as a group, we do sort of a group?
See, that's what I would like to have happen.
Okay.
I know y'all into rubrics.
Well,
But-
that's because it's just it's the tool we use the most.
Yeah, but
So if-
I think in this case, it probably seems like a lot more useful for an organization to have to write out
Mhm.
where they think this can help them.
Yeah.
So that we know that they're really thinking through what is happening in their organization. You know, I mean, if you the minute you start assigning weights to different questions, I think that they start playing to those questions.
Right. And there might be the opportunity for an organization to say, you know, there's two of these that I might prefer.
Well,
And then for one of them, we
one.
might say, right, one of them, we might say, you know what, this one, there's another organization that could really use this instead, but we're seeing that you're also interested in this. So it sounds like we want a little bit more latitude and a little bit more nuance to this process. So maybe points is not the right way, but instead really reviewing
The narrative.
the narrative. And then coming to conclusions as a group as opposed to individuals.
I would think so.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comments on that?
I actually agree because it supports that this is also a pilot, right?
Great.
So
Right.
when you
Great.
learn from the pilot, then you could begin to institutionalize that learning in the form of rubrics as it potentially grows. But you probably just need guidance. And that's what this, I think, really provides from a consideration perspective.
Commissioner Glover?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I agree with that. I think that if you just do this on a point system, you're not taking into account those sort of intangibles. And what you end up doing is basically, for lack of a better word, pitting one against the other because one organization may have, better score in that area and it could sort of overshadow the other. So I like the idea of it sort of being merit-based rather than point-based.
Okay, great.
Jim, does that satisfy what you were saying?
Yes, completely.
Tamitha? Yeah, I can see your
Thumb.
thumb.
Great.
I see the top of your head. And a thumb. Okay. Okay, then I think that,
I like that.
yeah,
Awesome.
you got, okay. Then I think we've accomplished our goal for today.
Good job.
So then this can go back, you still,
We'll get that clarity on that
That
one thing.
clarity.
Yes.
and if the city attorney for some reason does not allow us to pre-select, then we will set the call in such a way that we know we can get who we want, and then we can go through, since it's a
Yes.
narrative process now, and
Yeah.
figure out exactly who we want to have in this program.
Mhm.
Let's face it, the city picks people all the time. We know that. All right, committee.
Federal, state, and local law.
I didn't say that. Did I turn? Okay, so now, Jim, you had come on because you wanted to introduce another idea. I mean, it's not on the agenda, so we might be prohibited from actually talking about it. What was it you?
Rent reimbursement for
Okay, so what we should
smaller
do-
groups. And
What we should do, Jim, is put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
yes, I
So that can
agree.
be our topic, and we can actually get something done with it.
I agree.
Hey, super glad you mentioned it, because Russell and I have actually had a really great conversation recently about a reimbursement program. So we will have,
Oh, good.
we'll talk. And so we'll hopefully have something to discuss. And that's a little bit more concrete. So thank you for that.
Okay.
And I thought Martine was going to put it on this agenda, but she clearly didn't.
Okay. All right, well, but that's good though. If Russell and Glenn have already been discussing it, then maybe that it's better to talk about it in the next meeting anyway, because then we'll have something concrete to actually talk about.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, all right, well, bearing, any other information that needs to be brought up at the moment, we have definitely done what I wanted to have done with this particular conversation. And the staff can go back and get clarity, and then we can keep that moving forward. And then Clyde, just so you know, I had mentioned to Martine the idea that we needed this to be much longer than the fiscal year because of how long it is going to take us to launch it. We had hoped that it would be launched in April, but obviously that's not happened. So we want to make sure we give the organizations enough time to get a consultant to do whatever they have to do in order to, make this a useful consultancy for them.
Sounds good.
So upcoming meetings, if you all could put on your calendar that May 29th will be the next one of these meetings. And of course, the regular commission meeting will be on the 15th of May. Okay, no further business being, I should do my script. Oh, wait a minute. You didn't give me the script to the end. I'm just going to end it there. There being no further business for the Cultural Planning and Equities Committee meeting, I call this meeting to a close at 5:07. There you go.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.